Aloha, my name is Rhino Irwin. I am the owner of Hawaii Unified. I've been in the solar industry for a little over a decade, super passionate. I've been with Powur for a year now, and it's been about 7 months since we launched in Hawaii, so I'm super excited to have some amazing guests with us here today from the mainland, visiting us here in Hawaii. They're here because they won awards for sales and accomplishments. So we've got Jordan Shaw, and we've got Jonathan Bernasso, and of course they got my wife Ducky. So I'll let them introduce themselves as well.
All right. Well, I'm Ducky, of course, Rhino's wife. Also, just very honored to be able to do life and business with him. It has been, I cannot believe it, about a year now since we really started to bring Powur out here to Hawaii. And part of that is we get to talk and conversate and get to be a part of these guys' incredible lives. So when I heard that there was going to be some filming going on, I said, sign me up. I'm in. I am coming. But yeah, so, I run the Makaha Learning Center, which is really the heart of what we do. If we're successful, then we're able to pour into our communities. So, really pushing the adoption of clean energy and developing people in renewable energy careers is what we do.
Awesome.
On to you, bro.
Thank you. So I'm Jordan Shaw. I've actually been in solar for about 8 years now, full-time for the last 2. I actually had a 17-year IT career prior to jumping into solar. So I saw solar as just kind of like a hobby when we first started in our hometown of Brunswick, Maryland, 11 years ago, actually, at this point. And we were the first ones in our community to go solar. And then just kind of the wave of questions came, kind of got into it a little bit more. And I knew that, from a technology perspective, it was just amazing. And what we've done from just even the last 10 years, just the technology where we're talking about battery storage now, it wasn't where it was then. And so it's been a great ride. I've been with the platform since 2021 at this point, so it's been a crazy ride, which just allowed me to have the time freedom and just the inner freedom and just the family freedom, just being able to travel and be places like here. So it's just getting started.
Awesome. And Jordan won't admit this, but the top installs of all 2023, crossing the 7-figure mark, done it in a fraction of the time, and not like you're been in solar 10 years or anything like that. You've done it very quickly.
Thank you.
So, all right. Hey, everyone. Jonathan Bernasso here, and I'm from Southern California. I had the pleasure of meeting Rhino and Ducky in July when we launched with Hawaii Unified and Powur. I've been in solar and real estate since about 2015. I started at Solar City, Tesla. I had my real estate license, and they did really well, but then they kind of went downhill for a bit. So I tried my hand in real estate. It's pretty darn hard to be in real estate, especially right now. With interest rates and all the realtors and lenders are looking for additional income sources. We'll get to that. But that was tough. And I was at an independent solar company. And so I went to Sunrun Corporate. And I did really well there. I started developing a network referral-based business. I was self-generating deals. I met the CEO, Lynn Jurich, at the time, and I really started to thrive. And then about 5 years ago in 2019, Powur reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Was that Bobby Smith?
Bobby Smith.
Of course it was Bobby Smith.
Shout out. He's brought everybody.
Yeah.
He reached out to me and said, are you open to a better way, to help customers? And I kind of said no. And then he asked again. He said, we're creating the EXP Realty of the solar industry. I'm like, that's a great idea. I had that idea. And I went all in May of 2020. So it's only been a short 3-4 years maybe that I've been with Powur, and a few accolades, if I can boast a little bit.
Humble brag. Come on.
Brag.
If we got you here, I want to hear the accolades.
Personally, I've done over 460 contracts with Powur. The team has done about 7,000 installations with Powur. I've won a few cars, the Tesla Model 3, Fisker Ocean. But, I think what's amazing is meeting other people, community, philanthropy, giving back, building the homes in Mexico like we've done, and giving people the independence and freedom to be amazing dads and make great income and travel the world and work remote businesses. And I think that's something to expect coming into Powur. So I'm excited for the future. In the next 6 years, I think we're going to increase the adoption of solar worldwide,
Yep.
and our planet needs it. So yeah.
That was the thing that we really saw about Powur that made us like adamant about bringing Powur to Hawaii, was the opportunities that affords people. We're going to have, there's no doubt there's a clean energy transition happening, right? And so for Ducky and I, it was like, how do we get our people here locally to participate in this transition and financially benefit more than just saving money on their bill? And that's what we really saw that Powur brought, was this opportunity for them to, to join and to make a incentive for doing what we already do, is refer people to good things. So was like the major attraction. For you guys, being Jonathan, for being a solar seasoned veteran, why Powur? What makes Powur like the company to be with right now?
Yeah, well, right now the industry has been pretty rough. A lot of bankruptcies, a lot of companies that aren't sustainable. And so we're seeing a year of just surviving right now, more so with the interest rates and some regulations and things like that. But to answer the question, like 5 years ago when they reached out in 2019, they offered more solutions. They offered ground mounts. They offered metal roofs. They weren't disqualifying my roofs and my referrals. I could offer way better pricing. I could do better loans. I could do better equipment. At other big box companies, you're forced to be in a box. It's bad equipment, high price, and heavy costs and cost stacks and things like that. So when I saw that I could help my customers better, there was multiple streams of income, I could build a team. I was used to building teams at eXp Realty, where you can build teams, and you could do all of this virtually on the heels of COVID. Thankfully, I joined prior to COVID. Those, I think, were some of the reasons why I initially joined, and now it's evolved to other reasons as well.
And how about you, Jordan? I mean, like, you got into the game, right? How long? But did you start in Powur? Did you start your solar journey in Powur?
Well, actually, because our journey started earlier with just being the first ones to do it, right? And just getting kind of trained up on exactly kind of like as a hobby almost. I was never able to go like full time because it was always $250, $500 referral checks, right? It was always something small. Yeah. But I love just helping people understand sustainability and understand that. So in 2017, I launched my brand, my business, Shaw Energy Consulting, and then that allowed me to kind of pivot and work with multiple providers for the same types of reasons. Was just I wanted to have better options for my homeowners, no matter what they needed. Was it battery retrofits? Was it just brand new solar? What was it, right? And so just in the last couple of years, though, when Powur came along, I found Powur almost out on a fluke. And so that was my real, where I really dived in, truly, was with the platform because of the earnings potential, because I could actually make something tangible, and I could step away from what was a six-figure job in IT. And that was one of the scariest things I've ever done. And but I remember, I literally was having this conversation with John and Bud, and we were on the Impact Journey trip, the inaugural, and he said to me, I was telling him what was going on. I had my daughter's heart surgery coming up, just all this stuff. And I said, I'm really weighing leaving IT, but I'm afraid to do it. And he kind of looked at me and goes, yeah, but think about what you could do without it, like without that full-time job. And that was just the kick that I needed, just to kind of say, all right, I'm just 2 weeks later, I all of a sudden lost access to just my accounts when I was working with Google. And I was like, all right, that's what I needed. I just ran full steam. So within the last couple of years, it's been really great to be able to just kind of run and be supported by the community too. And I think that's what makes Powur very unique, is it's not just a solar company, right? It's a platform of just different individuals, partners, just everything. We're all in terms of a community. And I feel like that has been the best part about it, is just being able to kind of go along for the journey, not alone, but with other people.
So, and Powur's has stood the test of time. You guys are still on the platform 3-4 years later. Like, with what you see happening in the industry, why is Powur the right company from your guys' perspective? Like, one, we have the top recruiter, largest team probably in Powur, and then we have now the top seller, closer in Powur. Why are you guys so grounded in Powur? Like, what makes it the company to be with now?
I think it's going to be the resiliency. The fact that the platform is not, it's not rigid, I guess, in the vertically integrated. I mean, that has its own, its own elements to it, of course.
Sure.
But I feel like because Powur can kind of pivot with what's happening in the market, we can bring on the best, like TPO providers, the best hardware. We can be in multiple different locations. And so when I mean by that, it's just like across, right? I've got my first, homeowners going solar in Maui. I never thought I would actually be able to say that, right? And you're just, but to that point is like just the diversification of where we could be on a platform scale. And like I've helped homeowners in Arizona, Florida, Texas, all within the last month, in addition to California.
Wow.
I mean, I think the resiliency and the fact that we can be like flexible is why Powur's standing.
Yeah, I think that ties into being a decentralized platform and model.
Yeah.
When we can select different partners and vendors to work with, when we're not, fully tied in vertically or just go with one provider, one inverter brand. What Jonathan Budd and the executive team have set up, I mean, it's been brilliant. It's stood the test of time, being Inc. 5000 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know of another nationwide company that's done that much volume and revenue and paid that much commissions in 4 years' time than any other nationwide company. So I think sustainability from day one with a decentralized model, with good cash flows, lended itself to us being able to survive this downturn, being able to flex up or down with a decentralized model. I mean, that's just one of the many reasons why I'm still here. I think the people and the culture is a big reason why.
Yeah.
People, culture, and then training and platform. I mean, it just lends itself to explosive growth. And that's a lot of our secret sauce. The people, the community, the philanthropy, the giving back, everyone helps each other. The diversity alone is amazing. I always speak to that with women or different ages. It's not a bro culture like other companies out there. And what you'll find is people often just help each other all the time. Is that they'll just help each other. They'll get on the phone. We all have a vested interest. We're all shareholders with the model. So there's just a lot of reasons why. And then you look at training and then the platform backend CRM with your own websites and join links and visibility and cost of goods and transparency. Like no one else is that transparent. Yes, there's hiccups. Yes, there's issues. Yes, it's construction. Yes, we're growing up. All of that, right? We can all attest to that.
No company is going to be a smooth sailing, right? There's always going to be bumps, and it's how they handle the
drill holes in rooftops, something's going to happen.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've always shown that they care. And they're always able to change and evolve and grow. And that platform and back end is so valuable. And the commissions every day and the multiple income streams and the tier 3 mentor program, selecting closers in 23 states like Jordan, like Rhino and Ryan and all the different guys and gals. I mean, the explosive growth on building the team, I just can't speak enough to that. Once you see it and feel it,
It pulls you.
You know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that about the platform. Like, you guys are, have your own team. We have a team here, but we're able to work together. Like you have people that that you've known for years, right? And that live in Maui that you had an opportunity to present solar to. You partnered with one of our seasoned solar professionals here to help you, navigate the unique Hawaii utility model and, the logistics of Hawaii. And we can close it, and it's even reciprocated back, right? Tell me about that.
Oh, and that's what I said to Michael. I just said, we have an ocean between us. There's no, every single time that I have a lead, it's coming to you, because you can drive down the street or hop on a plane easier than I can, right? And we've been able to just close the deal together and help another homeowner in Texas, where it was that one of those reciprocations, just like you're helping me here, I can help you there. We have the time zone differentials. It just starts to make more and more sense. And that's the thing that I love about this is even I've been able to bring other installers onto the platform that were normally, would have been normally struggling during this time that we've seen, especially with California's change in net metering policy. You guys already went through that. And we're seeing just the shift in these, everybody's just like in survival mode, it feels like. And then because they're on the platform, they're like access to better equipment, just discounted prices. And we have just this ability just to kind of adapt here. But I love the ability to just go, hey, Mike, I got somebody, I really need your expertise. Like of all the deals that I've done, I was like, you have to like put that aside and you're like, you understand this better than I do. There's absolutely no reason I should be leading this. Like you've done this more times than I have. And that's just getting out of your way just to say this is the way, I want to make sure this goes right for them. Yeah. Because if it doesn't, that's work. Like that's definitely worse. Like I'm here to make sure that they have a great experience. So I love that aspect.
I have a question because you were mentioning that, hey, you've done deals in Florida. I heard, you're from Maryland. That's where you started. Texas, Hawaii. With your success, I'm just kind of curious, number one, the customers that you talk to, generally, are they pretty familiar with the technology, or are you kind of reaching them, and educating them from ground up? And then ultimately, what is it that drives them to make that decision? Because here in Hawaii, it's obvious, our utility rates are astronomical. They're not affordable. But in other places, that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
So
true. We're getting to this point where solar is readily available, right? But more and more homeowners are catching on to it. Like they're already talking to you because they want to save money, right? It's just that's like, it used to be like, what's your goal for the solar? Now it's like, well, I already know you want to cut the utility bill. What else is there? Do you want resiliency and backup? And so like when you're dealing with like Florida or something like that, it's that the battery conversation is key because the chances are they want to make sure they survive like the next hurricane. Like it's not a savings conversation usually. It's all about the resiliency play. In California, we can do the batteries and we can cut the bill in half, right? We can still do that type of stuff. So it is definitely conversational around what's coming up with a homeowner. And because by the time they're talking to you, they already know that they're interested or they think they are. And that's what I've been finding. Is just like it's gone from I have to educate you on how it works to, well, I already know that it saves me money somehow. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more how that actually works. And the intricacies of the different utilities, more and more are catching on to like, I don't want to export it into the grid, or I'm going to give you reduced value for that. Having to I think that's the harder education piece, at least from my perspective, is like, all right, well, the utility really just doesn't want this energy. And just being kind of more of a concierge and in the educational side of it, I come across more like less sales and more just solar education. And when I do that, that makes it easier for them to want to trust me through the process to make sure that they're going to have a good experience. So it does. You're right. It just depends on the areas, because we got some areas where it's like it's a wash. Like even the project in Texas, like Michael and I, we were talking about it. Like he's in like possibly the worst utility to want to do this, and it was all about trying to get him off grid as much as I can. We're like 56% of the homeowner's usage. Like he's just got a massive home. He just wanted to add resiliency because his ROI is like 15 years. I was like, I'm going to be shocked if he wants to do it. He wanted to do it. I said, man, okay, just see if he has a good relationship. But everybody has the different drive to want to do that.
I want to add on to that. I think that there's an overriding theme there that in order to be successful right now, you have to have a consultative approach. You have to be educated. You have to bring value. You have to know what you're talking about, whether it's batteries, net metering, interconnection, regulation, timelines, interest rates. Now we have third-party owned, lease, PPA options. And if you don't, like, you're likely not going to survive this wave. So the industry has definitely shifted from, oh, it's all free, zero down, lease PPA, or 0% interest rates for 25 years, and it's all savings, to now if you don't take the time and educate yourself or work with the best closers in your markets, and that goes a long ways to what Powur has is the training. Yeah. Literally has market development meetings every single week in every single market that you can learn the value proposition in each unique market. And it's always evolving. So like at some companies, they actually pay their reps more to push leases or PPAs on their customers, and they jack up the cash price. So when you're at a company like Powur, you can show cash, you can show loan, PPA, lease, and it's whatever's better for the homeowner.
It's like a menu.
Provides the best value.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's a part of that Powur culture that is so impactful. It's going to have them around for a long, long time. And that the reason why they're leading that charge here is because, they focus so much on education, and then people like you guys are really have that integrity to say education first, right? I think here in Hawaii, what's difficult for us sometimes, the biggest hurdle for us is to get over the "you can trust me" hurdle. We're not here to burn you. We're not here to take advantage of you. So I love how that is completely shifting, where there are people that are here to say, hey, this is clean energy is what we need to do. It's the right decision. And let me help you make an educated choice on that. Ultimately, you guys, everybody comes out winning in that model.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we still hit that whole, like, you can trust me as well. Because if a homeowner's been knocked on like 15 times, there's got to be a gimmick with it, right? Yeah. Like, and we hit that resistance. So, like, sometimes that's the reason they're on the consultation. I'm sick and tired of just being knocked, my door being knocked. I'll get you a sign so you can hang it saying, I've already gone solar. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Right? Yeah, for sure. You definitely hit that resistance there of, like, there's got to be something wrong. Like, why aren't more people doing this? And I love getting that question of, like, this seems so obvious. Why isn't everybody doing it? I said, help me propel that. Like, you need to be, like, I run off referrals. Like, anybody else I can help? Because that's what I feel like. It's like I'm ripping you away from the utility that just continues to suck life from you. It's like there's a purpose for the utility. There's always going to be at some level. But we're in this beautiful thing where we can just have energy independence. Mm-hmm. We can make that choice to just break free and just do the right thing. I mean, that's the beautiful part of this technology, and it's just going to get better and better.
Yeah, there's a few headwinds right now with regulation, interest rates, but right now the United States has about a 4 to 5% market saturation for solar. A lot of reports are saying that by 2030 there could be a 15% adoption nationwide. Wow. And so it's taken us 40 to 60 years to get to 5% adoption. Yeah. In 6 years, it could literally 3x. When you look at utility rates, when you look at electric vehicles, if you want to be in an industry and make money, look at where the government's spending the money, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Green New Deal, electric vehicles, heat pumps, and the utility rates just keep making it easier for us like crazy.
Even with the headwinds, right? The utilities go up, it just takes out the wind.
Combine the new products and offerings and some battery technology that's getting better.
Yeah.
And we have some amazing lease storage PPA options as well that are very popular right now with great options. So I think, whoever can survive this storm and some headwinds, we are just going to thrive and go beyond after summer in 2025.
Honestly, that's one of the best things with even the transition that actually has happened in California. For them just saying, net metering, we're devaluing. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, that was because it was like a sharp decline by 75%. The best thing that's happened with this is the fact that when that homeowner system goes online and is commissioned, I'm not waiting on the utility to go, may I switch it on? Yeah. It's immediately commissioned and on, and they have this tangible thing looking at their phone going, wait, you mean this is it? Like, I'm saving money, right? Like, right now, like, yes, you're in a protective bubble. I love that aspect of this. And the fact that we couldn't do that 10 years ago, that it was like just car batteries, and you have to vend them so they explode. And you're like, now we have these boxes you can throw on the wall. And we were just talking about this, just the amount of power that's packed into these devices. Yeah. It's like in 10 years, it's going to be Mr. Fusion from Back to the Future, I think. But,
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I think what's interesting that you guys touched on, for here, we're still in this area where we're selling savings. Like, everyone's so focused on savings. And I think we've just been really fortunate and blessed that Hawaii's not been hit by a hurricane in over a decade. Like, by all accounts, we're overdue. But what you guys have seen, in the mainland with Florida and Texas, like, people are buying solar for the resiliency to have that battery backup, because they want to make sure that when a disaster does occur, that they still have power. And like, we kind of got our first taste of that when we saw what we saw in Lahaina after the fires. Yeah, there was a lot of homes that, were untouched by the fires, but they didn't have power for weeks. Mm-hmm. And the ones that did have solar and battery, those were like the hubs where everyone was dropping all the goods off to like distribute out to the rest of the neighborhood, because they had refrigeration, a few key things. So that's what we're teaching our people, is like, get away from just selling savings. Like, savings is great, but it's not just the savings today, it's the savings over the full 25 years plus plus the energy independence, like that you have power that you're generating at your own home. Like that's amazing.
Don't count out that protective bubble.
Yeah.
That's what I say in my consultations. I'm putting you into a protective bubble. And what you're seeing now is like on the back end of what just occurred is HECO going, oh, we're going to start shutting down the power when we have high wind.
Yeah.
The actual preemptiveness, and California's been doing that for a long time. And it's just because of what happened was Paradise.
PG&E Paradise.
Yeah. I mean, it takes that level just for them to go, oh, we should probably power this off. And then then more and more people are just going to want to have that protective bubble. And it's sad that it takes something like that to drive that type of reaction. But it's like, I think, like you said, just having those, people are just going to love the fact that they can be in that protective bubble of resiliency. You're going to get the savings and the resiliency. It's just a double.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Ducky or Rhino about the fires that happened in Maui. Like, has the view on solar, batteries, energy independence, maybe getting a little freedom from the grid per se, has that shifted or changed much just in general since the fires?
I mean, I think that there's definitely a lot more awareness around it, how dependent these communities are on the utility, how vulnerable we can be. I like to, when I'm talking to people about being able to make a difference, do your part, to reduce your carbon footprint, climate change, extreme weather events, the statement's always, at some point, climate change is going to come knocking on your door. And what is it going to take from you? And like Rhino said, we've enjoyed a period here in Hawaii that's been pretty calm for like the last 30 plus years. We haven't had an extreme weather event here. When you look at what happened in Lahaina, that was like the perfect storm. All the circumstances came together to create that situation. When we went out as part of the response, we literally saw renewable energy, solar, in action. People with battery backup were able to preserve medicines, preserve breast milk that quite literally became the difference between life and death for some people. And so I think that that's a big part of it, is this awareness of, is this truly the best way, for us to continue operating the way that their parents did, the way their grandparents did, right? And so I think that, there's just,
and like Jordan said, the protective bubble, that was like the extreme example of that. Mm-hmm. Because if they didn't have solar and battery, they would have had to have gone to the shelter. Mm-hmm. They couldn't have stayed in their home because they didn't have refrigeration for the medicine and breast milk for their grandchildren. They would have had to leave their home because they didn't have solar and battery. So that was the true example of a protective bubble. Like, it provided that for them.
I remember seeing a live stream from a real estate agent that his condo was untouched. And he's sitting there, he's like, I have no power. But then he made the comment of going, well, my neighbors down there have solar and battery storage. They're still live. I got to look into that.
Wow.
He just said that on a live stream. I was like, wow. You just see it, the extreme of that.
It's sad that sometimes it takes events to change that perception and value proposition. Like in Florida with the storms and the hurricanes and all of that, like batteries are now more prevalent there. One of our best guys, Mike Patterson, out here with us in Hawaii, he's like the battery guy in Florida. Literally 2, 3 batteries, 4 batteries, because of the sentiment that's changed. Yeah. And so when you get away from that word savings, like you mentioned earlier, the value prop starts to change, and people are seeing these events everywhere and feeling it, and it's tangible. On the savings piece, real quickly, like when I was trained day one, it was never savings. And I think you can do that now more than ever. When you do why now, why the world needs it, why power, why solar, why independence, grid freedom, everything. This is what you're paying. This is what you're going to be paying. And these are my beautiful options. I never have to mention a savings. Yeah. It's just, let's build it up. Let's build the pain. Let me show you, our slide presentations that we use. And then let me just show you my offers.
Well, and I will show like kind of the cash value prop thanks to like Vision now. And because it'll show like the chart on, everybody focuses on the 25-year, which is great, but the average homeowner is they're for 5 to 10. It's like, when do I get my money back if I were to cut a check?
Yeah.
And the fact that you can actually model that out and show them that, you build that savings in there. It's like, look at this, you've already bought the system. Wait, how long have you been in the house? Like 6 years. Well, you just bought it at least once. As soon as they get that, they're like, oh, and you don't have to really build the savings. They're like, I already purchased the system. Wouldn't it feel nice next time to know that you've invested this into your home and yourself? Like, yeah, you don't have to get into that savings conversation as often. It is definitely a resiliency.
No.
You know, I did have a question for you, and master team builder.
Master.
It's not
You
me.
know-
It's my identical twin brother, Chris.
Is he here too?
You're identical. Yeah, where is that guy anyway? So when you're building your teams, you know, what is it that attracts them to this model? Because I'm sure that a lot of them are successful and quite happy in their careers, right? Is it primarily the financial benefit, or like the opportunities that they get through that, the freedom? Like, what is it?
That's a great question. I think it's multifold depending on the person. What I will say is there's also different types of people that we attract at Powur, right? So solar pros is one of the niches that I go after quite a bit. But what you'll find is that referral partners are now very, very strong group of people that we go after as well. So just to talk on them for a second, when we look at talking to realtors, mortgage lenders, the realtors with high interest rates that aren't selling as many deals this year, like we said earlier, or you could even go out to roofers or HVAC or other things, but the value to them is like, hey, your clients are going solar with or without your help. 30% of them will get solar. They will get door knocked. They will get some kid from Utah knocking on their door in California, making a 10 grand commission with a horrible deal.
Yeah, they're out of there.
Or you can do your part as a professional with the biggest purchase on the home that you sold them and bring this to their doorstep with a big tax credit and helping the environment. So the choice is clear. You know, we have a $1,000 referral program, or you can join Powur as a seller and earn half the compensation while giving them a lower price, better equipment, and more options. So from a referral perspective, referral partners, it's kind of a no-brainer when you set it up like that. Often it's income, right? We all love income, especially right now. With inflation and everything else, it's probably expensive to live in Hawaii.
It's the most expensive city in the country.
There you go. And so income is, I think, often the carrot, right? And then what they find is like, holy cow, this back-end business in a box, marketing, social media shareables, income streams, community, tier 3 mentor closers, I can sell in Hawaii, across the country virtually and make thousands doing it. It starts to evolve, but often the carrot is financial, and that's referral partners. And then when you look at solar pros, it's a little bit of a different pitch. It's just, hey, there's a better way to give a better price, more options, better equipment, earn more. By the way, you can build a team if you want, or you can make 7 figures without building a team and build a team a little bit later on in your solar journey. But everyone's different, and that's the best thing, right? Like, Cynthia Alvidra has, made 7 figures as a tier 3 mentor. My brother has made 7 figures just mostly building a team. And then I chose to do personal sales, mentor sales, and build a team. And so one of the things I love to say is with Powur, you can play at whatever level you're willing to play at when you're ready to play at that level. And it's a beautiful thing, because if you just want to do personal sales, great. If you want to build a team, great. If you want to also help others and mentor, and it's just really neat to see people elevate or graduate or go all in or take their time or explode a year later. I could answer that question all day long, but those are a few reasons why, obviously we're here at Powur.
What's interesting is you mentioned the solar pros, and like what I saw from Powur early on, it seemed to attract a lot of those referral partners that are kind of like new to the industry. They see like, wow, there's a great opportunity here, and this is a lot easier than what I've been doing. Like, I think selling solar is a lot easier than real estate, but I think a lot of these solar pros have gotten like spoiled. There's a lot of prima donnas in this industry, right? Like, they're like, they sign a contract and they're just 100 miles an hour forward. They don't look in the rear view. They leave a paper trail behind for someone else to wipe up, you know?
No, the lowest price,
Yeah.
commission.
Yeah.
And then the company's gone. Yeah. So what I'm seeing is like the shift in the industry, like we talked about, you know, there's headwinds, you know, there's been challenges, companies have gone out of business. Why would Solar Pros start to look at Powur, maybe even again? Maybe they looked at it before and thought, oh, this isn't for me, this is for the amateurs. Like, why would Solar Pros give Powur another look? And why would they be better coming to Powur? Not just better benefits, but how could they be better at their career by coming into Powur? You're the top seller, Jordan.
Well, from the ones that have been coming through my enterprise installer as well, because they've been picking up other pros just coming to them saying, "What are you doing? Like, what's going on in the industry?" They know where they're at right now, and the fact that they have these creeping red lines that just continue to go up. Like I have to sell at $4 a watt in order to even make a commission and above, right? They're at these weird like timelines of just they're unsure if their commissions are even going to come in the door. Mm-hmm. I mean, forget about selling it. It's like, okay, I got $100,000 that I'm supposed to be getting. Is it really going to come? And we're seeing that on the forums of saying, you guys hearing any chatter from XYZ company, like, have they been paying? Those are the types of trends that we're seeing. And the pros that are coming in, they're like, I just need to make sure that this is real because I've already been burned. And wait, how much can I make? And what can I offer? Okay, this looks good, looks too good to be true. Like they've been jaded almost in the industry. So it's, and then also it puts them in the driver's seat. So to your point, it's like, well, you have these pros that like come in, but they're used to being fed leads and other things, and they didn't really, for whatever reason, they left a paper trail behind. They didn't really communicate with their past clients. Where I'm like, you've sold how many in the last 2, 3, 4 years, and you don't have any data on that? You want to know how to explode? Just go back and talk to your previous customers, unless you're afraid to. Like that's what I'm seeing, and what these pros are coming in is they just want to know that it's not good to, you know, it's not too good to be true, that they're going to get paid, that they have the options, and I think from the professional perspective, they just need to take pride and ownership because now they're in the driver's seat.
Yep.
And I've always said within my partnership with Powur, where I didn't come from professional like solar sales, it was always a strategic partner. That's what I always look for, is strategic partners. I said, I'm the master of my own, like CEO of my own clean energy company, as Bobby Smith would say. But I have strategic partners. This is who I work with. And I think these pros as long as they get that into their head, is like, oh, this is my baby. Like this is mine. That's scary, but yeah, you can do a lot more with it. I think a lot more of our pros that are coming in the door, we're actually seeing that. My installers seeing that, these creeping red lines, and just knowing that Powur is going to be there in the future.
And it's not for everyone. I'll do the takeaway sales tactic. It's not for everyone. There's employees mindset and there's a business owner mindset.
Yeah.
Employee mindset is I can sell in this area, I have to sell this much, I'll get some leads and they'll take half and I'll be good. And business owners, like, I can sell in 23 states. I can build a team in other states. I can send my team to those in-person meetings across the country. I can have revenue share and passive income and stock options. This is not a thing like you're at Sunrun for 2-3 years, they let you go and you walk away with your box and your succulent and nothing. Like here you get, the little succulents. Like here you get revenue share and stock options and passive income and retirement money capabilities. So I just say that because not everyone is set up that way. Not everyone can manage their own calendar and schedule it. And we have the trainings and the leadership to help.
Yeah.
But not everyone will make it. And my answer to your question, why Solar Pros are here, and he hit it, was straight up, they're going to get paid. Like a lot of people, I have friends, big friends in the industry who owed 40 grand here, 70 grand here, 30 grand here. This company's holding back commissions. This company's delaying commissions. And everyone knows at Powur that I always get paid all the time.
Yeah, I know so many people in the industry that brag about, I have the lowest red line. I get, 25 cents less than everybody else. And it doesn't matter if you don't get paid,
No,
right?
thank you.
Yeah, it's just...
Get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good way to go to a business.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I'm coming from the installer side, right? So I see the other end of it. Like, hey, if we have to drop our red line by that much to get that seller, like, I don't want that deal because we won't be around long enough to pay that commission. Like, like we need to make money too.
Yeah,
right?
I'd like to ask on that real quickly.
Yeah.
And SolarCon is a convention from their industry, and they're going to be talking about installers.
Okay.
And one of the topics is that the installers often just aren't really treated fair. When you look at the cost stack, and when you look at the commissions, and when you look at who has the liability and the responsibility, oftentimes, like you said, the seller just wants the lowest red line, down, 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 push them down. And it's like this red line model doesn't really always work on smaller systems or bigger systems. It's kind of this old thing that we used to use. So I guess I just wonder, like, how does it feel being in that seat all these years and like pushing back on reps, or like just sticking to your price and your quality, which I mean has led to your success. But how does that feel being an installer?
No, I mean, it actually, we came mostly out of the C&I world, right? The commercial and industrial solar side. And we were doing residential solar to fill in the gaps of the big projects. So it wasn't a main focus on ours until really COVID hit. I mean, we had a small operation, we would do maybe 20, 30 deals a month. But when COVID hit, all of our commercial projects got halted. And so we realized that there was a big market for people that were at home using a lot more electricity, right? So, and I always prided ourselves as a company that we have really good people on our team. We have amazing techs, electricians, installers, we call them mechanical installers. And as a CEO of a company, that was like the biggest thing for me was like, how do we save these jobs? So we immediately pivoted to all of our focus on residential. And in doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, the tail wags the dog. Like the sellers tell us what they're going to pay us for this project. It's like, this isn't sustainable. Like I can't run a business that way where I'm dependent on these outside sales company telling me like what my price is going to be. Like they don't know what overheads I have, right?
The next week they could use someone else.
No, exactly. And then I was, trying to explain, because my CFO, he's like an old salty dog, like from GE days. So he's really traditional. He's like, Rhino, this looks like a hobby. This isn't a business. These margins are so low. And I'm like, oh, no. Those commissions, those are all pass through costs. Like they're just pass through. Like we get the money and we give it to them. He's like, it doesn't work that way. There's no such thing as a pass through. That's money, and there's a cost of money, right? So it was really difficult for us to adjust to that. And that's when I really decided like, hey, we need to create our own destiny. We need to have inside sales. We need to set what we're willing to pay and be able to still operate profitably. But then when we saw the Powur model, that's when the light bulb went off. I said, wait a minute, Powur is going to cover the cost of all the equipment, and they're going to pay all the commission, and we just get paid to do what we do really good, which is install. Like that's a way better model for us, because we don't have to handle the money to pay for all that equipment. We don't have to handle the money for commissions and then worry about clawing back cancellations and all this other stuff, right? So as a business, it's been interesting as we transitioned into Powur. We still had a pipeline of what we call traditional residential sales, and then we have Powur sales, right? So, we've been progressively moving to get as much into Powur as possible. And it's just amazing to see, like, we make less revenue, but our profits, our gross profits are higher because it's focused on where we make the money is in the labor side, the installations. So, it's kind of, to answer your question, it's freed us from that, right? Like of being beholden to, sales commissions, and, it's been need a break? Yeah. Water. Yeah.
I like that because that's what I was. I mean, my own install team just within SoCal, when I brought them on platform as my enterprise installer, that's the same freedom that they saw was, okay, well, we're going to be able to get these jobs, but the cost of the goods is so much lower. And I'll actually use an example right now. We had a installation where the homeowner had their own financing. And for whatever reason, we weren't able to utilize that through Powur. We weren't set up to do it. I mean, I was talking to the finance team. I said, is there any way to make this work?
Like a cash deal.
Right.
Yeah,
it was like, well, there are cash deals with them, but the company is going to cut the check and it's going to have to be to the Powur, but we're not allowed to take it, like one of those things. So we're like, all right, well, we can't do it through Powur. But I ran the numbers, and my cash, or my contract price was around $51K with about $8,000 margin built in. Okay. When my installer was done with, like, because we had to take it outside of Powur, it was like $49,000 for them to make money.
Oh yeah.
Before we ever start talking about margin for the rep. And we talk about it all the time, but to actually see it in real time of it actually, I'm like, wow. I said, that was pretty powerful to see that discount and the volume and what you're discussing is just having that ability to have a little bit of freedom there and just having a discount pricing on that. I mean, it blew my mind just to see it, just to have that visualization into it, because we're going line item to line, exact same hardware.
Yeah.
Like,
And as a contractor, it insulates us of the risk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's Powur's contract, it's Powur's paper, right? So they're carrying the warranty. That's a big relief, like you don't have to worry about what's going to happen in 5 years. Powur's going to help take care of it, Yeah, it's a definite shift, and that's what I tell other EPCs that we're talking to bring on to the enterprise. It's like, you got to change your mindset. You got to let some of this control let go. But in the long run, you're going to be way better off. Yeah, you're going to run a more sustainable and profitable business. And let's face it, like, we're in business to make money, right? You don't want it to be a hobby, right? So
I think one of the coolest things that I've leveraged in other, states is you get the best of both worlds. You get the best local, Hawaii unified, X number of years in business, and you get it under a nationwide Inc. 5000 4 years in a row company. So you get the best of both worlds. I'm just curious, like, I know Go Local Power is a brand out here, but have your guys adopted that value add? Like, hey, you're getting the best of both? Or how has Powur lended itself to be an addition to your value proposition?
I think it's really unique here because Hawaii's been taken advantage of by mainland solar companies, like hard. So, I mean, they would send out literally hundreds during the summers, hundreds of door knockers that have little to no solar experience, and they're designing $40,000-$50,000 systems and telling people to sign up a contract for, So there's a lot of bad deals that have been made. So people have been jaded, and the locals here are very hesitant of mainland solar companies. So I think, what we have been able to do, with Powur and using the Go Local Power team is letting them know that, hey, this is a local, it's a local branch of Powur that's here that is actually focused on helping local people, and then having a local install company that's still here that they can call and that is 30 minutes away, right? I think that's really helped. And the way that I explain it is like, hey, Powur, it's a platform. It gives us access to the best, we call it mainland prices, right? Because there's like a differentiation, and there's Hawaii prices, and then like, how much is it in the mainland? Well, we get access to mainland prices, even better than mainland prices. Wow. Yeah, so the platform, for us is, to your point, it does bring that security of having a bigger company behind it, a corporation, but also you still have that local sense of you can pick up the phone and call someone here.
And from an installer perspective, like, you've literally gotten exposure to a sales force of 5,000-6,000 independent consultants nationwide and a few worldwide, and they may know some people in Hawaii. So just curious, like, with that exposure comes leads or installs or sales or just maybe connections or networks you may not have thought of prior to getting that exposure. What does that look like? It sounds like it's additional sales and installs for your company. And
yeah, and I mean, it's been fun because like you said, there's people that know people in Hawaii. They have a family member that lived here, so they're real anxious to help them go solar. And then it's an opportunity for us to teach them about the market too. Like, hey, there's some unique challenges here. Like, that house that you're looking at, actually, that's off grid. It doesn't even have power. It's on the Big Island. And so, there's a lot of challenges there that we have to navigate, So there's just, the lack of what we call like tribal knowledge, or native intelligence is probably a better term. But to be able to help educate them in the power community, and then they're like, oh, I get it. Okay, so I should be looking for a house over here or somewhere. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that actually brings something up because because that was one of the reasons why I wanted to work with Mike, was I wanted to have that tribal, that local knowledge. Is there anything, because we do have, obviously the platform's opened up a group of sellers just anxious to come in. Is there anything that they can do like different or like better that would make it easier for you to make sure that you're not cleaning something up, right? We always talk about selling a clean deal, right? And helping a homeowner. And to me, it's never a deal. I'm helping somebody with energy freedom, right? Like, is there something or key takeaways that they could do better, like whether it's always working with a tier 3 here or like anything else? Right.
Yeah, no, I think, there's a few areas. One is I think it really is beneficial to work with a tier 3 that's been in the market and knows the market well. And I would do the same thing if I had an opportunity in Florida. I'm tagging someone in Florida because I don't know that market, right? I don't want to even try and figure it out to, mess up someone's, solar system, And then I think too is, I always tell people, be careful what you market and advertise into Hawaii. Like the social media, like we've seen a lot of that by mainland companies that they'll be like, make money selling power back to the utility. It's like, no, that ended in 7 years ago in Hawaii. Or the free solar, it's like, I just love your guys' approach. It's really about helping people. So if you come from that genuine place of that you really want to help them, that's the biggest start, right? And what we've seen here is like the door knock culture. A lot of the mainland people, they're not here to help these people. They're not. They're here to close the deal and make a commission and fly back home. Right.
Last time I was here at your launch party, downstairs there were these 3 kids and they were getting drunk. And they told us that they were flown in for the summer to help sell people solar. And it just a testament to what you're saying. It happens a lot here. It's crazy.
Yeah. And they pack them in a house. There'll be 20 of them in one house, like an Airbnb or something. And they're just going out just right in the doors, man. Right. And it's high pressure sometimes. And I'm all for, being an entrepreneur, taking an opportunity, but just do it in the right way with the right mindset and really doing good by someone, not doing it just for a one-sided, self benefit.
100%. Yeah. That'll be a sustainable, long-lasting, referral-based business for sure. Yeah. I have a question for a lot of the solar pros out there, because this is quite a unique market. You're a very tenured market. You've had solar a long time. Net metering was taken away a long time ago. There's batteries that are very prevalent here. Driving here, we saw solar everywhere. So what are some of the key things in a market that has a lot of solar? Maybe that could be a different value prop, or less homes, or homes that are being built. Or it could also be systems that need to be taken down and a new system goes on, or maybe now there's being batteries added on. Mm-hmm. Just a market that's been ahead of the rest. We're in California. We're kind of thinking, man, this could be us in 5, 7, 8 years.
Absolutely.
I just wonder, what are some of those things that make the industry different out here?
Hawaii has a 30% penetration rate. So 30% of the homeowners have solar. Already, yeah. However, 30% of our sales are people that already have solar.
Wow.
Right? So they've had solar for 10 years, and what they either a big part of it too is they were sold a system that was already undersized to begin with. Right.
No sales rep would ever do that.
No, yeah, right, because it's really unfortunate, yeah. And so, and plus their power needs have grown over the years, right? People are using more power, get an EV and, get an air conditioning and, all these things. They're needing more power, so they still have that bill creep. The utilities costs are still going up, even though they've got a smaller system. So they need to add more solar, add battery. And then what we're seeing is like a lot of our sales, they do have what were hurdles at one time for solar, like the roof, right? Or they need an MPU because they only have a 100 amp service. So, you have to be able to navigate those things and work through them to give them a solution. And we're seeing that two ways. One is just, knowledge and experience on, how to deal with those different situations and have new solutions, but technology is helping a lot as well. Like what we're seeing with the battery technology, we're able to eliminate a lot of the MPUs, that have been required.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that in California too. It's like we don't even want to touch an MPU at this point. Like we're just like, if I can avoid it and avoid inviting the utility to the party, I'm going to do it. Right? Yeah. Like why we have the technology in place to completely avoid that. Like it just saves time and money and headache and frustration, especially for the homeowner.
Yeah. However, it's just like, it's 30% now. It's at some point we're going to get to 60% and 70%, but new homes are being built. And then now there's permitting to start opening up townhomes here that have been pretty much untouched. Awesome. So I think it's just, it's a market where we have the highest electricity costs in the country. And so those that haven't gone solar, they're like paying the price for those that have. And then like, it's never real until it's real. So like what's happened with Lahaina, like that was a taste of the disaster of why batteries are so important and solar plus batteries are important. So that's kind of driving a lot of people now to think about adding batteries if they have an existing NEM system. But what we haven't seen yet is the effects of like people as the utility moves to time of use, and to see like what you talked about, like high wind advisories when they're, starting to power down the utility. That's when they start to feel those challenges. And then it's like, you know what, I do need to go solar. Right? So I've been, avoiding it for 5 years, but I think, I really needed to make the leap. So, yeah. So you wanted to talk about batteries and the market and maturity of that.
Yes. Something that we're seeing is just as California specifically is starting to evolve and take in the net metering changes and needing the requirement of having the battery storage. We're starting to see like certain trends in proper sizing and things like that, and when it's not being, we haven't seen the ramifications if somebody doesn't properly size it. Is there any like advice, because you've been so long at this already, so far ahead of what California is doing?
Sure.
Like what's some of the like tidbits and advice that you can actually give to the professionals out there that are looking at embracing battery storage for kind of the first time?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I've seen some really good training on power, in the knowledge base, but like the way that we've typically done it, like we call it the back of the napkin sizing, right? So you're going to do pretty much everything the same as taking the bill, figuring out what the annual production is, and then sizing your system. Where it is actually quite a bit different is we're always sizing at 120%, because 100% is typically not going to do it, because we don't have, the grid has kind of been like this big eternity battery, right? You can send kilowatt hours back there and they're saving it for you for whenever you need it. Well, it doesn't work that way with a DER system, right? A battery at your home. You're going to have to size that battery for daily use, so full charge and discharge. And so the easiest, like kind of like the standard of what we lead with is 120% offset is how we size it. And then you want to make sure that your battery capacity in kilowatt hours is at least twice as much as your PV size, right? So if you have a 7 kW system, you want to make sure you have at least 14 kilowatt hours of battery. And there's a real small threshold, like I would, like for using real world examples, like with Powerwall. If I was like at a 7.2 kilowatt system, I would probably still get away with one Powerwall, but I would then quantify that with the homeowner, like how much time do you spend at home? Do you have anyone that's working from home, like you're using daytime energy, so you're using some of the power that's coming from the solar during the day? No, we're at home. We don't get home till 5:30, and okay, then I really recommend you're probably going to need another battery. And then I'd also recommend that you add a couple more panels to make sure that that battery is going to be fully charged, right? Because now you have to make sure you're producing enough, power to charge that second battery to take advantage of it. So that's kind of the baseline, is just 120% offset to make your production at that, and then making sure that you have at least twice as many kilowatt hours as you do PV size. And then you want to get into the conversation. How are you using your energy? And then what are your goals? Like, is it just to save? We actually had a client, it was really interesting. This is like one of those like aha moments. We had just finished installing this system in this neighborhood, and it's like a brand new neighborhood, right? And the house had 3 batteries, and there was a power outage. And we were just happened to be at the home, and I'm looking around, everywhere is completely dark and blacked out except the house that we just installed batteries. I'm like, how cool is this, right? Like, this house is, they're not even going to notice that there was a power outage. And they didn't even notice. They didn't even notice. Like, they didn't even notice that the whole rest of the neighborhood was out of power. And then we're driving away and we're talking about how cool it was. All of a sudden I get a call and like, oh, hi, this is so-and-so down the road. You guys installed solar at my house, and the power is out, but I have batteries, but I don't have power. And I'm like, oh man, like,
it's because they just drained the battery the night before. There wasn't enough sun to charge
she's
it
like,
up,
well, it's only 9 a.m., right? It's only 9 a.m. They probably used all the power, and it dawned on me, yep, that's what happened. They didn't have enough reserves to really, carry them during that time. So they used all the whole battery overnight, and the sun wasn't out yet to recharge it, right? So that's why they had a power outage. So
that brings it, you were talking about sizing into like 120%. And something that I've noticed, at least inland more than coastal, is you can get into the habit of kind of chasing the summertime usage. So like we're in the desert, right? Like those bills are sky high. Are you sizing it like 120% just because you're chasing kind of the graph in terms of usage, or is it just like kind of some of the buyback? Like what?
No,
what's
that's
the
great point. So definitely when you're at 120%, typically people are going to use more power during the summer, right? And especially when they have solar, it's like the given that I got solar, I can run the AC more, right?
Yeah.
So you're giving them some extra capacity now in the summer, right? A little bit. But the biggest factor is that during those winter months when there's less sun hours, obviously, you're going to cover that delta with that extra 20% typically. You're going to see like the solar will typically be really close to the consumption, right? But you still need to have that much production to make sure that you're going to charge the batteries during those times in the winter time too, right? So it's worked really well for us. But again, you still want to, being an educator, right? You want to ask them like, how are you going to use this energy? Are you going to be home at all during the day? Because if you're not, you're going to charge your batteries, but you're not going to, you're going to go through that power pretty quick at night.
And what's the horror story on the flip side, right? Maybe the sales rep that came from another area, sold virtually, or the company that's out of business. Like, what is the horror story from a homeowner that's just distraught?
So it's the old making false promises, right? It's telling them that they're only going to have a $29 electric bill. Yep, and they're selling them a low payment, and they're sizing it at 80 or 100%. They're selling a lot. We see it a lot because mainland guys that come over to sell, when you have a grid-tied NEM system, 100% that's the right size, right? Well, it doesn't work here because then when the winter months come, they're going to have a sizable utility bill, right? Because there's not enough generation during the winter months to cover that delta. And it's what you have stored in the battery is it. There's no grid, bank to pull from.
So they end up owing
hundreds, and they're like, I went solar, but I still have a huge, utility bill in the winter. What's up with that?
I think people just don't understand what they're purchasing, and there was never a conversation of understanding what their goals really were of going solar, and that's happened a lot. And you talk about horror stories. Every time he runs into a horror story, he gives it to me. In fact, one time I worked with a customer for 2 years to help them with a buyout, from a mainland company that they came in. They were very popular here. They didn't even know that they had signed a contract. There they go. And, astronomical utility bill, still paying for their solar, can't get anybody out to service it. And so it was a long process for us to make it right, get them to the point where they could take ownership of their system and then add on and, actually arrive at what should have been designed for them in the first place.
I find that now, specifically as we've actually made the transition of not having as much buyback from the utility, that I'm paying more and more attention to that graph and making sure that every single month is actually what it's supposed to be, not just the average that everybody would normally put in. And I have that conversation right now with homeowners that say, all right, we can either chase the summer and give you a little bit extra, but we are overbuilding for that, just so you know that you're not going to really get any value over here. But just watch this graph. You see how that dips down in the winter? Yeah, like these are the months that you'll probably still have something. And not making that false promise that you talked about, saying like the zero bill, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore. It's all about hedging against the future increases. And if you can make it big enough, then great. But there's, that's why I wanted to ask you, like, why you're sizing it at that point. Are you chasing certain sides of it, which is exactly what you said. It's like, I'm trying to cover the winter. And I said, that's perfect. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really the difference between a true solar professional and, what this other culture that we're talking about, the easy money, all commission driven, no value. They're not really digging in. And like, I like to show like, here's your base. It's like almost like when you buy a car, right? They show you like, here's the base model, but if you want to step up, like it's going to be this much more. But you're going to get a better vehicle that you're going to enjoy this is an investment, right? It's the second most important investment you're going to make. Like, biggest one I feel next to your house, right? So it's a 25-year system plus. Like you want to make sure that you get it right. And I think that's what like selling that and teaching them like, don't just get the system for today, but get the system for the future. Future-proof your energy needs, right? Because that's, again, goes back to like our market, right? 30% solar penetration. Well, everyone bought solar for what they needed that day. They didn't think about the next 5 years or the 10 years, right? And now they need more solar and battery and all these things. So
I don't know anything about that, do I? No.
yeah.
Well, that's going to be an interesting thing to see is just that transition as we more electrify. It's just people are just going to want to add more. And then we have intricacies now with just the old legacy net metering programs. We were just having this conversation, like, how do we work around that? Like, somebody that we used to be in this, in this net metering, where they're going to get bumped, like all of these intricacies. It's going to be, honestly, it's going to separate, I think, in the next 5 years, is the professionals from, like you said, those that were just the easy, like just going for the easy money.
It was the gold rush, right?
It was the gold rush.
Yeah. The same thing.
I have a quick question for you guys, like 30, 60-second answer. For any solar professionals, realtors, anyone on the mainland, anyone in Hawaii looking to join Powur, and they get to sell in Hawaii, and Hawaii Unified's the installer, why should they look at considering joining Powur, and why Hawaii Unified gets to do that job?
You want to go ahead?
Absolutely not. He said 30 to 60 seconds. I don't roll like that.
No. I mean, Powur, the platform allows us and gives us opportunity to sell into all these different markets, right? And we, like I said, we know Hawaii is a market where we have the highest cost of electricity. So it makes so much sense to go solar. It's like, it's almost a crime if you don't. Like you're going to pay the price if you don't, right? And then as far as, our company, Hawaii Unified, I think really what differentiates us from other companies, both, mainland-based companies that are operating here and companies that are based here. One is we're one of the only companies that's operating on all the 4 main islands, right? So Oahu, Maui, Big Island, and Kauai. And then 2, like we've been in business for 18 years. We're a construction company first. So when it comes to knowing how to build, like that's our expertise. Sales was like the part that we needed in order to do what we're really good at. So, and we support local people. We support the community. When you work with us, you're also helping support our nonprofit, the Makaha Learning Center that Ducky operates. And so, I mean, it's a win-win all the way around.
That's awesome. Perfect. On that note, Makaha, I have been following you, Ducky, on social media, all the events, community events, networking, giving back that you do. I really admire what you guys do, and especially you, and I think you're really passionate about that, and it shows. But tell us about, the Makaha Training Center and more.
Yeah, so, when we had the opportunity, we started seeing blessings in the company, and we thought, hey, we really need to get involved here in our community. what can we bring that's going to be tangible that people are going to be able to really grab a hold of and create a better life for themselves. And for us, like he said, construction is our bread and butter. And just being in the industry, we saw a grain of the workforce. So people were retiring out of the industry before we could transfer those skills to them. So we're duly accredited where we can teach over 70 different craft trades through NCCER, which is the National Center for Construction Education and Research. And we're also a registered training provider, one of only 2 in Hawaii, for NABCEP, which is the North American Board of Certified Energy Professionals. So with that, we are really able to give our students the skills that they need to become immediately marketable and to move into a job that's going to help them to pay the bills and have a lifestyle that's going to allow them to, number one, it's going to be quality here in this expensive place we call Hawaii. And number two, it's going to help them stay here. So we've been so incredibly fortunate to be able to have supporters that have partnered with us so that we can offer all of this training 100% free to our students. We've put over 200 students through our programs. And the reason we focus on solar, the reason we focus in clean energy is because it's the future. You know, and it's something that people can be really proud about what they're doing, you know. So we're excited about that, the way that's going. You know, not just training on the installation side, not just training for them to get into, you know, the engineering, the design, that sort of thing. We're also now training people how to get into the sales force. You know, we're actually using one of the Powur resources. What's his name that wrote it?
The book,
book,
How to Sell Solar book.
It's one of our bases, and we and we take them through, and a lot of them are not all of them go into sales, but they're all very interested. And the one thing that I think is catching on that I love is that people are now really starting to see how they can, you know, they can create a lifestyle around clean energy. They can get the skills that they need to support that lifestyle, you know. And so it's exciting, all of the work.
That's incredible.
Wow.
When was the foundation actually? When was it founded?
So in 2018 is really when we started to focus on providing these construction training, basically. So between 2018, 2019, we're incubating, we're getting accreditations, we're doing all the back work. Just as we're about to launch our very first solar class, Solar 101, 100-hour course, COVID hit. But despite that, we still forged on ahead. I think in that year, we actually had 4 classes. It all started remote. We only got together, you know, to do the hands-on stuff. And it's just been accelerating ever since.
It's a 13-week program, and what we have found is 16-week program. It's a 16-week program, and what we found is that the students that go through there have the equivalency of like 3 years of on-the-job training.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. And they're able to come out of there and get a really good paying job. I mean, you know, not just having to start out the lower labor level, but actually as an installer. But they learn all aspects of solar. So they get the whole holistic view. Like it's, you know, from the sales to the design to, you know, the engineering.
Develop equipment, technology.
They learn every component, you know, of it. And so they just come in with just a much bigger picture instead of just like, oh, you're the guy that drills the holes in the roof and puts the, you know, the mounts in, and that's it. That's what you do, you know. And you maybe one day you can graduate to, you know, running some DC wire, you know. So it's been really awesome to see the students come out of there and just jump right into the industry and have, you know, never had been part of it before, but excel.
Yeah.
I want to add on to that because I'm a big believer that I think entrepreneurs in business are going to be the ones to change the world ultimately right now for the better. And what I'm seeing is the marriage of business and philanthropy and giving back and training like is really strong. And at Powur, Public Benefit Corporation, be certified, Pachamama, Offset.Earth, trees being planted, building homes in Mexico. I mean, you name it. It's like in our DNA. So it's really cool to see that in you guys. But Ducky, how do you see the entrepreneur, philanthropy, giving back? Like, how do you see that marriage and how is it differentiating for you? And I'm sure it comes back as well.
It does. It absolutely does. And that, I would say, is maybe a collateral benefit that we didn't expect. We just knew that it was our duty to serve people. You know, the more you close your hands, you can't receive, right? If you just try to hold on to everything. So we're partners in everything. We support each other in everything. He's a part of the nonprofit. I'm a part of the business. And for us, success means being able to do more in our community. And so there's really, I would say that the only struggle is we're so darn busy, you know?
Success for you is being able to
pour more into our community,
Yeah.
to do more in our community.
Yeah, what she's really taught me is like, you know, we don't give to receive, we receive to give. So the more that we receive, the more we can give and the bigger impact we can make. And that's been huge for us.
And, you know, that's why we love Powur. That's why we said, gosh, this is a model we need to bring to Hawaii, because the values were in such alignment. You know, what's the point of going through life if you're just doing it all for yourself, right? And I think that that's one thing about clean energy, is that people can really feel like they're making an impact. And yes, it's lucrative. Yes, you can make money in it, but it's still, you're in a admirable space, an admirable profession, right. You know, you're accelerating that with every person that you educate. And, you know, I love that you went clean energy. That was the start of your story. And you just sparked this curiosity and you got people, you know, to ask questions. And then that's just, look at where that's led.
He was passionate about it, making 200 to 400 a referral. When we zoomed, introduced you to Powur.
Yes, we did. That's it. Yeah, it's true. And you have to, like, especially when in those beginning stages when you can't make a tangible income from that, you have to be passionate for it for other reasons, so that when something like that does happen where you can make good income, but also you remember where that came from, and you can definitely give back. I love that. I love that aspect of just making sure you're kind of like hands open, right? Just saying like, this is what we can give. And I loved seeing just what you two were doing with the fires, with the Haina, and just the give back, and just being boots on the ground, and just everything there. Just know it's like everybody rallying, you know. It's like even my wife and I, we gave as well, like to the foundation, you know, for that, and just making sure that, you know, like, hey, that hits home. Like, it doesn't matter where you geographically are, like, you need to make an impact in some way. So
I got to give credit. You know, Rhino woke up just 4 a.m, like, we need to go to Lahaina, you know? And I'm like, I think we're going to Lahaina. But yeah, I think that, you know, here, especially being in a state that's in the middle of the ocean, right? There's so much at stake, right? At any moment, we could be cut off really from our supply lines, from the oil that comes in to produce our electricity. And so I think for us, that's why it's so much more, you know, we're so much more passionate even about it, because the more that we can equip ourselves to be self-sufficient, and, you know, the better we are as a community, the stronger we are as a community. So.
Yeah. And we're a power couple.
Hey.
With a U. Powur with a U.
Wow.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate you guys just having us here. I mean, this has been an honor, just to be able to just communicate and just talk about, just explore these ideas, and like what we're doing just with an ocean between us, how we're able to kind of come together and just make
share,
it good.
collaborate,
Yes.
help each other, meet awesome people, give back. I mean, what more in life could you want?
Yeah.
A lot of us refer to that as it's the solar trifecta. We get to help the planet, we get to help homeowners, and we can make income doing it as well. And it's hard to find industries that offer that. And our colleague Owen Carey even has a saying. He's like, Powur has its 4 income streams, but the 5th one is the people. It's the networking, it's getting to learn nuggets and takeaways and sales tips, like, and the community is one of our strongest.
You know, that's something that I want to riff off that, because that's the reason I left IT was I knew I was sort of making an impact. Like, I would help these companies and these administrators, and maybe I helped modernize, but I didn't feel like I was making that type of impact. And here, I feel like every single time I leave a home, or like I'm helping them put panels on rooftops, I've left them better than what I could have ever made from that. the amount of savings, but knowing that I've left them in a better position. I love that aspect. I made that impact. And like you said, it's just, you have that, you just look at all the things that we get to do just with this company. It's just, it's incredible in this industry, really. It's not many industries can say that.
Yep. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for taking time out of your
Thank you.
fun,
Vacation,
your
I
vacation in
know.
Hawaii to come meet with us and talk stories. And yeah, I know you got a taste of the traffic in Honolulu. So
It's not all paradise. Not on the H1.
I'm back home in SoCal.
yeah, no, thank you, Jonathan Bernasso. Thank you, Jordan Shaw. You know, I admire you guys. I look up to you guys, what you guys have accomplished in the industry and also with Powur. And so thank you guys for taking time.
Thank
meet
you.
us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. Cool. Aloha.
Is that a wrap? That's a wrap, guys. Cool.
That's it.
Thank you guys.